Hi everybody, my name is Erin and today I'm going to talk to you about initiative and referendum. These are two processes that are at the heart of direct democracy. They're also in the Arizona State Constitution, which was founded during the Progressive Era. Initiative is when a citizen can propose a new law or a constitutional amendment instead of waiting for the legislator to act. Voters can gather signatures for their proposal on the ballot. If enough voters approve it in an election, it becomes law. Referendum is when a citizen challenges the law that the legislator already passed. In other words, voters can demand to approve or reject a law before it actually goes into effect. Let's look at how this works in Arizona. For the initiative process, a group of citizens draft a proposed law or constitutional amendment. They file it with the Arizona State Secretary. They must collect the required amounts of signatures from registered voters. This will depend on the last governor's election. For state law, they need to get 10% of that last governor's election, and for a constitutional amendment, it needs to be 15%. Once the signatures are verified, the measure is granted in the next general election. It will be on the ballot. If the majority of voters approve it, it becomes law. Referendum process is when the legislator passes a law and the citizens oppose it can file a referendum petition. They have 90 days from after the legislator session ends to collect the signatures. 5% of the votes cast from the last governor's race are what's needed in order to move that forward. If they gather enough of those signatures, the law is put on hold until the voters decide whether to approve it or reject it in the next election. When we compare and contrast what these two are side by side, initiative is started by the citizens. Referendum is a reaction to what the legislators have done. So when citizens aren't liking the laws that they are proposing, they are able to step into that process and appeal it. Initiative is to propose a new law, where referendum is to approve or reject an existing law. The timing for initiative goes directly on the ballot. A referendum stops the law and lets the voters decide at the next election. Both empower citizens. One is proactive, which is the initiative. The other is reactive, which is referendum, because it's after a law is created. There are some advantages and disadvantages to both of this process. Advantages are that it gives citizens direct control over laws. They can make, they can stop, they have an impact on the process. They hold lawmakers accountable when voters disagree with what legislators are doing. They can bring up issues the legislator might ignore. So if they're not being heard and they have enough people, they can get that heard. And they strengthen civic engagement and voter participation because they can have a say in what's going on. Some things legislators could ignore would be like marijuana legalization or education funding. Some disadvantages is that signature drivers can be expensive. So special interest groups can actually dominate that process. Ballot measures can be complex and voters may not have full information to make decisions. Frequent initiatives can make long-term planning difficult for state legislators. So if they have a plan for the state and the citizens are creating these laws, sometimes that has to change as well. Once passed, initiatives are hard to amend, even if there's a problem later. The connection to direct democracy. Arizona's Constitution was adopted in 1912, and like I said earlier, it was designed with a strong direct democracy principle. This was during the Progressive Era where there was little trust in wealthy and companies and corporations, and so they wanted the people to be more involved in the voting process. Article 4, Part 1 specifically reserves the powers of initiative and referendum to the people. This means government authority comes from the people. That's really important to them and to us in Arizona, not just their representatives. These tools reflect the beliefs of the citizens, and they should have the final say on important issues. In conclusion, initiative and referendum give Arizona more than just a vote for candidates. They're not just picking somebody that's going to give them a voice, that's giving a lot of people a voice. You can have your own voice and you can do the work as well. Whether proposing new laws or challenging existing ones, these processes ensure people remain at the center of Arizona's democracy. Thank you.